You gave everything. Your time, your energy, your heart. You showed up when no one else would. You loved unconditionally. You forgave endlessly. You became the person everyone could count on. And it destroyed you. Not all at once, slowly, like a candle burning at both ends. Beautiful, bright, but burning out. And here's what no one told you. Compassion without boundaries isn't love. It's self-abandonment. It's saying yes when your soul screams no. It's carrying burdens that were never yours to carry. It's giving so much to others that there's nothing left for yourself. And the worst part, the people you're sacrificing yourself for don't even notice. They just keep taking because you keep giving. And somewhere along the way, you forgot you mattered too. This is why compassion without boundaries will destroy you. Not because compassion is wrong, but because you can't pour from an empty cup. And yours has been empty for a long time. Let me tell you something that will change everything. Compassion without boundaries isn't compassion at all. It's codependence, dressed up as kindness, disguised as love, celebrated as selfless. But underneath, it's self-destruction. We've been taught that being a good person means giving endless. That love means sacrifice. That compassion means putting everyone else first, no matter the cost. And you believed it. You became the person who always said yes, the one who dropped everything to help, the shoulder everyone cried on, the safe space for everyone's pain, everyone except yourself. Because somewhere along the way, you learned that your needs didn't matter as much. That caring for yourself was self. That having boundaries made you cold. So you erased yourself piece by piece, need by need, boundary by boundary, until there was nothing left but the hollow shell of someone who used to exist. And the people around you, they love that version of you, the giving one, the selfless one, the one who never complained, the one with no limit. They took and took and took, and you gave and gave and gave, thinking that's what love looked like. But it wasn't love, it was a transaction. You gave everything, hoping they'd finally see you, hoping they'd appreciate you, hoping that one day your sacrifice would be worth something. But it never was, because people don't value what they didn't earn. They don't appreciate what comes too easily. And you made yourself too available, too accommodating, too willing to disappear just to make them comfortable. So they stopped asking if you were okay. They stopped checking in. They stopped noticing that you were drowning because you hid it so well. You smiled through the exhaustion. You said, "I'm fine," when you were breaking. You kept showing up, even when you had nothing left to give. And here's the brutal truth. Boundaryless compassion doesn't help anyone. It doesn't heal them. It doesn't make them better. It enables them. It teaches them that they don't have to be responsible, that they don't have to do their own work, that they can dump their pain on you and you'll carry it. So they never grow, they never heal, they never learn to hold themselves because you're doing it for them. And you're collapsing under the weight of everyone's problem, everyone's emotion, everyone's expectation, while your own needs go unmet, while your own pain goes unacknowledged, while your own life slips through your fingers. Because you've been so busy being there for everyone else, you forgot to be there for yourself. And that's not noble. That's not compassion. That's self-betrayal, the highest form of it, because you're teaching the world that you don't matter, that your needs aren't important, that your well-being is negotiable. And the world believes you, so it keeps taking, and you keep giving until one day you break, not dramatic, not with warning, just quietly. A collapse so complete, you don't even recognize yourself anymore. And that's when you realize compassion without boundaries didn't make you a better person. It made you a ghost, a shadow of who you could have been. If you just learned to say no, if you just learned that protecting yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. And without it, you don't just lose yourself, you lose everything. Your peace, your health, your joy, your life. Because boundaryless compassion isn't sustainable. It's not love. It's not kindness. It's slow suicide. And it's time to stop before there's nothing left to say. Think about a river. It gives endlessly. It nourishes the land. It sustains life. It flows with generosity, but it has boundaries that contain it, that give it direction, that keep it from flooding and destroying everything in its path, including itself. Without banks, a river doesn't become more generous. It becomes a flood, chaotic, destructive, unsustainable. That's what compassion without boundaries becomes. Not more loving, more destructive to others, to yourself, to everything you touch, because giving without limits doesn't create health. It creates dependence. It creates people who expect you to carry them, who don't develop their own strength, because you're always there to be there, and you think you're helping. You think you're being kind, but you're not. You're stealing their growth, their opportunity to struggle, their chance to learn that they're capable of surviving without you. Nature understands this. A mother bird doesn't carry her babies forever. She feeds them, protects them, nurtures them, but then she pushes them out of the nest. Not because she's cruel, because she loves them, because she knows they'll never learn to fly if she keeps carrying. But you keep carrying, year after year, person after person, crisis after crisis, and you call it love. But it's not love, it's fear. Fear that if you stop giving, they'll leave, they'll be angry, they'll call you selfish, and you'll be alone. So you keep sacrificing, keep overextending, keep saying yes when everything inside you is screaming no, because rejection feels worse than exhaustion, because disappointing them feels worse than betraying yourself. But here's the truth. You can't love anyone well if you don't love yourself first. You can't pour into others from an empty cup. You can't heal the world if you're broken. You can't give what you don't have. And right now, you have nothing left. Your energy depleted, your joy gone, your sense of self erased, because you've been living for everyone else, measuring your worth by how much you can give, defining your value by how needed you are. But need isn't love, and being needed isn't the same as being valued. People who truly love you don't want you to destroy yourself for them. They don't want your sacrifice. They want your presence, your authenticity, your wholeness, not your depletion. But boundaryless compassion doesn't allow wholeness. It demands depletion. It requires you to give until there's nothing left, and then give more. And the saddest part, the people taking from you don't even see it. They don't see your exhaustion, your pain, your slow disappearance, because you hide it. You smile, you reassure, you pretend you're fine, because their comfort matters more than your truth. But at what cost? At the cost of you, your health, your dreams, your peace, your life. Because boundaryless compassion isn't just exhausting, it's deadly. It leads to burnout, to resentment, to illness, physical, emotional, spiritual. Your body starts breaking down because it's been screaming at you to stop, and you haven't listened. Your soul starts withering because it knows this isn't what you're here for. You're not here to be a martyr. You're not here to sacrifice yourself on the altar of everyone else's need. You're here to live fully, authentically, joyfully. But you can't do that without boundaries. Boundaries aren't walls. They're love for yourself, respect for your limit, protection for your energy, and permission to be human, to have need, to say no, to rest, to matter, because you do matter. Your well-being matters. Your peace matters. You matter. Not because of what you give, not because of who you help, but because you exist, and existence alone is enough. You don't have to earn your worth through sacrifice. You don't have to prove your value through depletion. You're already worthy, just as you are, with boundary, with need, with limit, whole, and it's time to remember that. Before compassion without boundary takes everything you have left. So let me show you exactly how this happens, how compassion without boundaries destroys you. Not in theory, in reality. There are 5 stages of self-destruction, 5 ways boundaryless compassion dismantles your life, piece by piece, until there's nothing left. And most people don't even realize it's happened, because it's slow, gradual, invisible. You don't wake up one day and suddenly you're destroyed. You fade a little more each day, a little less of yourself, a little more exhaustion, until one day you look in the mirror and don't recognize the person staring back. That's what boundaryless compassion does. It erases you. And here's what makes it so dangerous. It feels righteous. It feels like you're doing the right thing, being a good person, a kind person, a loving person. So you don't stop. You don't question it. You don't see the warning sign until it's too late, until you've given so much, there's nothing left to give, until you've sacrificed so much, there's nothing left to sacrifice, until you've disappeared so completely. You don't even know who you are anymore. And that's not an exaggeration. That's the reality for millions of people who were taught that love means self-erasure, that compassion means self-destruction, that caring for others means not caring for yourself. But it doesn't, and I'm going to show you why. I'm going to walk you through the 5 stages, stage by stage, truth by truth, so you can see where you are, what you've lost, and what it's costing you. Not to make you feel guilty, not to shame you for your kindness, but to wake you up before it's too late, before you lose yourself completely, before boundaryless compassion takes everything. Because here's what you need to understand. You can be compassionate and have boundaries. In fact, you must. Boundaries don't make you cold. They don't make you selfish. They make you sustainable. They allow you to give from fullness, not from depletion. They allow you to help from love, not from obligation. They allow you to be present for others without abandoning yourself. And that's the goal, not to stop caring, but to start caring about yourself too, to understand that your needs matter, that your well-being matters, that you matter as much as everyone else, not less, equal. But boundaryless compassion doesn't allow equality. It creates hierarchy, where everyone else comes first and you come last, if at all, and that's not sustainable. It's not love, it's self-destruction. So let me show you the stages, the 5 ways this unfolds, the 5 signs that compassion without boundaries is destroying you, not to scare you, but to save you, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you understand the pattern, you can break it. Once you recognize the cost, you can choose differently. And that choice, that's where freedom begins. The freedom to be kind without disappearing, the freedom to be generous without depleting yourself, the freedom to love others without losing yourself. That's what boundaries give you. Not less love, more real love, sustainable love, healthy love, the kind that doesn't require your destruction, the kind that honors your existence. So let's begin. Stage 1, the stage where you start believing that saying no makes you a bad person and everything unravels. From there, it starts here with a belief so deeply embedded, you don't even know it's there. If I say no, I'm a bad person. You don't say it out loud. You might not even think it consciously, but you feel it every time someone asks for help, every time someone needs you, Every time you want to say no, but say yes instead, because the guilt is unbearable. The thought of disappointing them, of letting them down, of being seen as selfish, cold, uncaring, it's too much. So you say yes, even when you're exhausted, even when you don't have time, even when saying yes means betraying yourself. You say yes because in your mind, their needs are more important than yours. Their comfort matters more than your peace. Their approval matters more than your well-being. And that's the trap, the guilt trap, the belief that your worth is determined by how much you sacrifice, by how available you are, by how much you can endure without complaining. And it didn't start recently. It started young. Maybe you were praised for being the good kid, the helpful one, the responsible one, the one who never caused problems, the one who put everyone else first. And that praise felt good. It felt like love. So you kept doing it. You kept saying yes. You kept sacrificing because it made you feel valuable, needed, loved. But somewhere along the way, the script flipped. What started as genuine care became obligation. What started as choice became expectation. And now people don't ask if you can help. They assume you will. They don't check if you have time. They just take it. Because you've trained them, you've taught them that you have no limit, that your energy is infinite, that your time is always available, that you don't matter as much as they do. And they believe it because you've never shown them otherwise. You've never said, I can't. You've never said, not this time. You've never said no, just no, without explanation, without apology, without guilt, just no. Because the truth is, you don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting yourself. You don't owe anyone your time, your energy, your life. You don't owe anyone your depletion. But the guilt tells you otherwise. The guilt says, if you don't help, something bad will happen. If you say no, they'll think you're selfish. If you prioritize yourself, you're a terrible person, and you believe it. So you keep giving, keep sacrificing, keep saying yes when your body is begging you to stop. And the resentment builds, not toward yourself, for not having the courage to say no, for not valuing yourself enough to set a boundary, for betraying yourself over and over and over again. And here's what makes it worse. No one's forcing you. They're not holding a gun to your head. They're just asking, and you're saying yes. So you can't even blame them. You can only blame yourself for being weak, for being a pushover, for not standing up for yourself. But it's not weak, it's conditioning. Years of being taught that your needs don't matter, that caring for yourself is selfish, that love means sacrifice, and sacrifice means erasure. So you erased yourself, need by need, boundary by boundary, yes by yes, until there was nothing left but guilt for existing, guilt for having needs, guilt for wanting rest, guilt for being human. And that guilt, it's killing you, not all at once, slowly, draining your energy, stealing your joy, crushing your spirit, until you're just a shell, going through the motion, saying yes, giving more, disappearing. And the people around you, they don't even notice because you've hidden it so well. You've smiled through the exhaustion. You've pretended to be fine. You've kept giving, so they keep taking. And the cycle continues until you break, or until you finally realize. Saying no doesn't make you a bad person. Saying yes when you mean no does. Then comes the exhaustion, the kind that sleep doesn't fix, the kind that lives in your bone, deep, constant, unshakable. You wake up tired. You go to bed tired. You exist in a fog where everything feels heavy and you can't figure out why. You're eating, you're sleeping, you're functioning, but you're not living, you're surviving, barely, running on fumes, because every ounce of energy you have goes to someone else. Every bit of bandwidth consumed by their need, their problem, their crisis, their emotion, and nothing is left for you. Not for your dream, not for your joy, not even for basic self-care. You're depleted physically, emotionally, spiritually, completely. And here's what's insidious about this state. You normalize. You tell yourself, everyone's tired. This is just life. I'm probably just getting older. But it's not. It's not normal to be this exhausted. It's not normal to feel nothing. It's not normal to lose yourself completely. In service of others, yet you accept it. Because you've been doing it for so long, you don't remember what it feels like to be full, to have energy for yourself, to wake up excited, to feel alive. You don't remember because it's been years, maybe decades, since you prioritized yourself, since you said, what do I need? Since you checked in with your own heart instead of everyone else's. So the depletion deepens. Your body starts breaking down. Headaches, tension, illness. Your immune system weakens because stress is chronic, rest is non-existent, and your body is screaming, stop, but you don't. You push through. You take another pill, drink another coffee. You ignore the signals because people need you, and their needs are more important than your body's warning. So you keep going, keep giving, keep ignoring yourself until your body forces you to stop. A breakdown, a collapse, an illness so severe you have no choice but to rest. And even then, You feel guilty. Guilty for being sick. Guilty for not being able to show up. Guilty for finally, putting yourself first. Even when it's not a choice. Even when your body made the choice for you, you still feel guilty because the conditioning runs that deep. The belief that you exist to serve, that your value is tied to your usefulness, that rest is laziness, and self-care is selfish. So you rush your recovery. You go back to giving before you're ready. You ignore your body's plea for more time because people are waiting, and the cycle starts again. Depletion, exhaustion, breakdown, repeat over and over until there's nothing left. And here's the cruelest part. The people you're sacrificing yourself for don't appreciate it. Not because they're bad people, but because they don't see it. They don't see your depletion. They see someone who's always available, always strong, always capable. So they keep asking, and you keep giving because you've never shown them that you're human, that you have limit, that you're running on empty. You've never let them see. So they don't know. They don't know that every yes costs you, that every favor drains you, that every time you show up for them, you're abandoning yourself. They don't know because you never told them, and you can't blame them for that. But you can blame yourself for not protecting yourself, for not honoring your limit, for treating yourself like you're disposable, because that's what depletion teaches you, that you don't matter, that your needs are negotiable, that you can run on empty forever, and no one will notice, not even you, until one day you break completely, irreversibly. And then what? Then you're no good to anyone, not to them, not to yourself, because you gave everything away, every ounce of energy, every bit of joy, every piece of yourself, until there was nothing left. And that's not love. That's martyrdom. And martyrs don't inspire change. They just disappear, quietly, painfully, completely. And the people they sacrifice themselves for, they move on. They find someone else to lean on, someone else to drain, someone else who hasn't learned yet. That compassion without boundaries is a death sentence. So if you're in this stage, if you're running on empty, if you're exhausted beyond measure, listen, stop, just stop before your body forces you to, before depletion becomes destruction, before there's nothing left. To save, you are not a resource. You are not infinite. You are human, and humans need rest. Humans need care. Humans need boundary, or they break. And you're breaking. Then something shifts, something dark, something you didn't see coming. Resentment. It starts small. A flicker of irritation when someone calls. A flash of anger when they ask for help. A quiet thought you immediately feel guilty for. Not again. And you push it down. You tell yourself you're being selfish, that they need you, that this is what love looks like. But the resentment doesn't go away. It grows quiet, steadily, poisoning everything. Because here's what happens when you never say no. You start saying yes with resentment. You help, but you're angry about it. You show up, but you're counting the cost. You give, but you're keeping score. And they feel it. They feel your energy shift. Your warmth replaced with coldness. Your genuine care replaced with obligation. And it confuses them because you're still saying yes. You're still showing up. But something's different. You're different, bitter. And you hate yourself for it because you're not supposed to feel this way. You're supposed to love helping people. You're supposed to be grateful they need you. But you're not. You're exhausted. You're depleted. And you're angry. Angry at them for asking. Angry at yourself for saying yes. Angry at the world for making you feel like you have to choose. Between their needs and your sanity, between their comfort and your peace, between them and you always choose them, always. So the resentment builds layer upon layer, year after year, until it becomes who you are. You're not the loving person you used to be. You're bitter, cynical, hard, because giving without boundaries turned your compassion into poison. And the worst part, you can't even express it. You can't tell them you're angry. You can't admit you're resentful, because that would make you the bad guy. That would prove you're selfish. So you swallow it. You smile through it. You keep giving while hating every second of it. And the people you're helping, they have no idea. They think you're fine. They think you love helping. They think this is just who you are, the giver, the helper, the strong one. But inside, you're screaming at them to stop asking, screaming at yourself to stop saying yes, screaming into a void that never answers back. And the relationships suffer because resentment kills love, slowly, surely, completely. You start avoiding people you used to enjoy. You dread their call. You hope they don't need you. You pull away, not because you stopped caring, but because caring without boundaries made you hate them. And that's the tragedy. The people you love the most become the people you resent the most, not because they're bad, but because you gave them everything and got nothing back. Not because they didn't offer, but because you never asked. You never said, I need something too. You never said, I can't do this anymore. You never said no. So they kept taking and you kept giving until love turned to resentment, until connection turned to obligation, until relationships became your prison. And here's what makes this stage so dangerous. You start believing the problem is them, that they're selfish, that they're takers, that they don't care about you. But that's not true. The problem isn't them. The problem is you. You're the one who said yes when you meant no. You're the one who never set boundaries. You're the one who gave without asking for anything back. You taught them how to treat, and now you resent them. for following your instruction. That's the bitter truth of this stage. You're angry at them for taking what you freely gave, and until you accept that, until you take responsibility for your part, the resentment will consume you. It will poison every relationship. It will turn you into someone you don't recognize, someone bitter, hard, cold. Because compassion without boundaries doesn't just destroy you, it destroys your capacity to love. And that's the real loss, not the energy you gave, not the time you sacrificed, but the love you lost, the ability to care without resentment, to give without keeping score, to connect without walls. Boundaryless compassion stole that from you. It turned your greatest strength into your deepest wound. And the only way to heal it is to stop. Stop giving without boundaries. Stop saying yes when you mean no. Stop sacrificing yourself for people who never asked you to, because they didn't ask. You volunteered, and you can stop volunteering. You can reclaim your no. You can set boundaries. You can choose yourself before resentment destroys everything, including you. And then comes the question, the one that stops you cold. Who am I without this? Who am I if I'm not the helper? If I'm not the giver? If I'm not the person everyone can count on? Who am I? And you realize you have no idea, because you've spent so long being everything to everyone else. You forgot to be anything to yourself. You've defined yourself by your usefulness, by your availability, by how much you can give. And without that, you're nothing. Or at least, that's what it feels like. Empty, hollow, lost. You look in the mirror and don't recognize the person staring back, not because you've changed physically, but because the person you were doesn't exist anymore. She gave herself away, piece by piece, year by year, until there was nothing left. And now you're standing in the wreckage, trying to figure out what remained. But there's nothing, no hobby, no passion, no dream, nothing that's just yours, because everything you had, you sacrificed for them, for their needs, for their comfort, and now they're fine. But you're empty, and it's terrifying, because you don't know how to exist. Without being needed, you don't know how to fill your time. Without serving someone, you don't know who you are. Without your role as the giver, so you panic, you double down. You give even more to avoid facing the void inside you, because the void is unbearable. It's the proof that you've been living someone else's life, that you've been playing a role, that you've been pretending. And the real you, she's been buried for so long, you don't even know she still exists. This is the identity crisis stage, the stage where boundaryless compassion steals not just your energy, but your sense of self. Because you've been so busy being who everyone else needed, you never figured out who you needed to be. You never asked, what do I want? You never wondered, what brings me joy? You never considered, what's mine? Everything was there, their problem, their need, their lives. And you were just the background character, the supporting role, never the main character in your own story. And that's the crisis, the realization that you've been living a half-life, a borrowed existence, someone else's script, and you don't know how to write your own because you've never tried. You've never prioritized yourself long enough to discover what you actually like, what you actually want, who you actually are. So you feel lost, adrift, without anchor or direction, because your entire identity was built on being needed, and now you're starting to realize being needed isn't the same as being valued. Being useful isn't the same as being loved. Being selfless isn't the same as being whole. And you've spent your entire life chasing the wrong thing, thinking that if you just gave enough, people would see you, would appreciate you, would love you, but they didn't. They just kept taking, because that's what you trained them to do. And you're left here alone with the question, who am I? And the silence is deafening, because you don't have an answer. You don't have hobbies to return to. You don't have dreams you've been nurturing. You don't have a self that exists outside of service. And rebuilding that, it's terrifying, because it means admitting you've wasted years, maybe decades, living for everyone else, while you disappeared, and you can't get that time back. You can't undo the years of self-abandonment. You can't reclaim the person you might have been if you'd just chosen yourself. So you grieve. You grieve the life you didn't live, the dreams you didn't chase, the person you never became, because you were too busy being everything to everyone else. And that grief, it's soul-crushing, because it's not just about what you lost, it's about what you never had. The chance to know yourself, to love yourself, to be yourself, you gave that away freely, willingly, thinking it was love. But it wasn't love, it was erasure. And now you're standing in the aftermath, trying to piece together a self from fragments you can barely remember. This is the cost of compassion without boundaries. Not just exhaustion, not just resentment, but the loss of self, the complete and total disappearance of who you were meant to be. And the question remains, can you find her again? Can you rebuild what was destroyed? Can you become whole after giving yourself away? The answer is yes, but only if you stop. Stop giving without boundaries. Stop defining yourself by your usefulness. Stop abandoning yourself for others, because the self you're searching for, she's still there, buried, forgotten, waiting for you to finally choose her. And then You break, not gradually, not with warning, completely. One more request, one more crisis, one more person needing something, and you shatter, not in front of them, never in front of them, but alone, in your car, in your room, in the shower, where no one can see, the complete collapse of everything you've been holding together. You can't breathe, you can't think, you can't do this anymore. You just can't. And for the first time, maybe in your entire life, you feel it fully. The weight of everything you've been carrying, the exhaustion that's lived in your bones for years, the resentment that's been poisoning you slowly, the loss of self that's left you hollow, all of it, at once, and it's unbearable, because you finally see the truth. You've been destroying yourself, not them. You said yes when you should have said no. You gave when you should have stopped. You sacrificed when you should have protected. And now there's nothing left. No energy, no joy, no self, nothing. Just a shell, going through the motion, pretending to be fine while dying inside. And you realize you can't keep doing this, not for one more day, not for one more person, not for one more second. Something has to change, or you will die, not physically, though your body is breaking down too, but spiritually, the part of you that makes you you will cease to exist. If it hasn't already, this is the breaking point, the moment where you have to choose between them and you, between their comfort and your survival, between continuing this pattern or finally breaking it. And it's the hardest choice you've ever faced, because choosing yourself feels like betrayal, like selfishness, like proof that you're not who you thought you were. But here's the truth: choosing yourself isn't betrayal, it's liberation. It's the moment you finally realize you can't save anyone if you're drowning. You can't help anyone if you're broken. You can't love anyone if you don't love yourself first. And you haven't loved yourself. You've abandoned yourself over and over, day after day, year after year, for them. But they didn't ask you to. They didn't demand your destruction. You volunteered it. You made yourself a martyr and called it compassion. But martyrs don't inspire change. They just die, and their death changes nothing. The people they sacrificed themselves for move on. They find someone else. They survive. They always do, because they were never as dependent as you thought. They were never as fragile. They were never going to fall apart without you. That was the lie you told yourself to justify the sacrifice, to make the pain worth it, to convince yourself that your destruction served a purpose. But it didn't. It never did. You didn't save anyone by destroying yourself. You just destroyed yourself, and they're fine. But you're not. You're broken, depleted, lost, barely holding on. And this is the moment, the breaking point, where you decide, do you keep going? Do you keep giving? Do you keep sacrificing until there's absolutely nothing left? Or do you stop? Do you finally say no? Do you finally choose yourself? And I know what you're thinking, but what about them? What if they need me? What if I let them down? And here's what I need you to hear. They'll be okay. I promise you, they will survive without you. They will figure it out. They will find another way. They always do. But you won't survive if you keep doing this. You won't recover from this depletion. You won't rebuild from this destruction. You won't survive if you don't choose yourself right now, today, not tomorrow, not next week. Now, because the breaking point isn't a warning. It's the end of who you were, the end of what you can give, the end of everything. Unless you stop, unless you finally set boundaries, unless you finally say no more, not to them, to yourself. No more self-abandonment, no more self-sacrifice, no more giving from depletion, no more. Because you matter. Your life matters. Your well-being matters. You matter, and it's time you started acting like it. It's time you started protecting yourself the way you've protected everyone else. It's time you started choosing yourself the way you've chosen everyone else. This is the breaking point, but it's also the turning point. The moment where destruction becomes creation, where depletion becomes restoration, where self-abandonment becomes self-love, but only if you choose it, only if you stop and start living. So here's what you need to understand. Compassion without boundaries will destroy you. Not because compassion is wrong, but because boundaries are essential. They're not optional. They're not selfish. They're survival. You cannot give from an empty cup. You cannot help from a place of depletion. You cannot love others if you abandon yourself. And that's what boundaryless compassion is. Self-abandonment disguised as love. It looks noble. It feels righteous, but underneath, it's self-destruction. And it costs you everything. Your energy, your joy, your peace, your sense of self, all sacrificed on the altar of being good, of being kind, of being selfless. But here's the truth. Real kindness includes yourself. Real love protects yourself. Real compassion has boundaries, because boundaries aren't walls. They're bridges to sustainable love, to a healthy relationship, to a version of yourself that doesn't have to die, to care for others. The people who truly love you don't want your destruction. They don't want your sacrifice. They want your presence, your authenticity, your wholeness, not your depletion. And the ones who only want you when you're giving everything, they don't love you, they use you, and you deserve better than that. You deserve relationships built on reciprocity, where giving and receiving flow both ways, where your needs matter as much as theirs, where you matter, not because of what you give, but because of who you are. And who you are is enough, just as you are, with boundaries, with needs, with limits. You're enough. You don't have to earn love through sacrifice. You don't have to prove your worth through depletion. You're already worthy just by existing. And it's time you started believing that. It's time you started living that. It's time you started choosing yourself, not instead of others, alongside others, because that's what balance is, not choosing them or you, but honoring both, giving from fullness, helping from strength, loving from wholeness. That's sustainable compassion. And it requires boundary. It requires saying no. It requires disappointing people sometimes. It requires choosing yourself, even when it feels wrong, even when guilt screams at you, even when people get upset. You have to choose yourself, or you'll disappear completely, irreversibly. And the world needs you, not the depleted version, not the resentful version, not the version that's given everything away, the real you, whole, rested, alive, boundary. Because that version of you can change the world, not through sacrifice, but through presence, not through depletion, but through overflow, not through self-destruction, but through self-love. And self-love isn't selfish. It's the foundation of everything. You cannot pour into others what you haven't poured into yourself. You cannot give love if you haven't received it, even from yourself, especially from yourself. So start today. Start now. Choose yourself. Set a boundary. Say no without explanation. Protect your energy like it's sacred, because it is. And watch what happens. Watch how the right people stay. Watch how the takers leave. Watch how you start coming back to life. Slowly, beautifully, completely. Because compassion with boundaries doesn't destroy you. It restores you. It allows you to give without losing yourself. It allows you to love without sacrificing yourself. It allows you to care without disappearing. And that's the goal. Not to stop caring, but to start including yourself in the circle of your compassion, because you deserve it. You've always deserved it. And it's time you finally gave it to yourself. Boundaries aren't the end of love. They're the beginning of loving yourself, finally, fully, unapologetic. And that's everything.